And ladies and gentlemen, we have a quick pick, what's new, on modularization of Indian Railway, for which I would like to invite Mr. Kulvinder Rayat, CEng FICE Associate Director. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Kulvinder.
I think I have a presentation to give. First of all, I would like to thank the construction world to invite us over to give a presentation here. My colleague and I have just landed from London this morning, and we asked whether we could talk something about the work that we're currently doing for Indian Railways. First of all, good afternoon, good evening, and namaste to everyone. As you can see, I'm an NRIA, and it means a lot to me to talk in our own language. I am Kulvinder Rayat, and I'm a director for Arup. Today, I would like to share with you how Arup is part of transforming railways of India through our innovative design of modular railway station components in brownfield sites. Our client is Indian Railways, and the contracting entity for the work we're doing is RLDA. Next slide, please. But first, a little about who is Arup. We're a multidisciplinary consultant founded in 1946 by Sir Ov Arup. Ov was widely known for and considered as the foremost engineer of his time. He pushed the boundaries of what design and engineering could achieve. And we continue with that ethos today. Arup is now an independent employed owner business with 17,000 professionals worldwide. Our head office is located in London, and we have 95 established offices in over 40 countries. More importantly, we've been working in India for the last 40 years. Our presence in India is increasing all the time, and we are very excited to share expertise and to add value to major projects throughout India. But having heard the panelists today, I think India is on the move in a big way. I'm very, very impressed. Next slide, please. Just as a little bit of a background as to the context when I'm going to talk about the work we're doing for Indian Railways, in the past 3 years, we have worked on major stations, transport facilities, and several major airports worldwide. We have also worked on large-scale public buildings and transport hubs around the world. It works. And coming back to India, Indian Railways want to redevelop 125 age stations across the country, and they have a stock of 8,000. This is to modernize stations and help meet passenger demand forecast for the next 40 years. Indian Railway Station Development Corporation was set up in 2012 to help Indian Railways achieve their aim. Indian Railway Stations Development Corporation used architects to design glamorous bespoke stations that took between 3 to 5 years to build. These time scales are not feasible to the client and where there are so many stations to redevelop. Having heard what we can do in metro systems in Lucknow and other parts of the world, and we're building like that in 2 years, I sincerely believe that we have the capability in this country to achieve what I'm going to say. The government of India wants to accelerate station development, so there's a need to find better ways to optimize construction methods, reduce construction periods, and their aim is to reduce this to less than 12 months. But the big question is, how? Well, Arup was commissioned by RLDA to find a better way to transform railways, hence our work on innovative design on modular railway stations. The aim is to maximize replicability and the use of pre-engineered components and prefabrication of site, a topic that we have discussed quite a lot today. And the idea is to minimize wet trades and blocks of the railway. To this effect, we produced a draft design handbook with the aim that will become an industry guide used by professionals involved in modernizing Indian railway stations. The key innovative principles within the handbook to reduce construction periods include simplifying the design, introducing replicability that is scalable, standardizing methods of construction, something that we've spoken about today quite a lot, minimizing wet trades during construction, and having pre-engineered and off-site fabrication solutions. for concourses, through roofs, cover-over platforms, footbridges, and to an extent, entry-exit blocks. Well, Arup were given 10 stations architectural layouts to study. A short list of options was agreed using a multi-criteria assessment process. Rather than a contained concourse as had been previously built, we proposed that we design a grand open experience where passengers on concourses can see the whole of the station and not feel boxed in. This approach is a covered external space with no glazed side walls so that it doesn't trap heat, but instead utilizes breeze for natural ventilation and helps us with the environmental and sustainable angle of what we all talk about. So what did we determine? How did we think we could do this? Well, the key to modularization is to establish a grid of columns which are scalable. The critical criteria, vertical circulation, is to ensure that passengers can move to and from the platform onto the concourse without any obstructions. Well, we proposed a strong deck concourse to facilitate construction to minimize possession of railway. Construction of foundations on fixed width platforms is always going to be a challenge when working on operational stations. Well, here is an animation that I'm going to show you how the concourse and through roof is proposed to be constructed. But this assumes that the foundation, precast concrete columns and crossheads are all in place. Well, prefabricated pieces are transported by road or rail to a delivery yard, from where they are driven up a temporary ramp. A small mobile crane places both the floor precast units and steel sections. By this method, we believe significant areas can be constructed in a single night closure. The roof modules are all built directly on the strong deck, and specialized launching rails are utilized. And this then gives us our concourse and through roof. Well, throughout the last 8 months on this project, we, Arup, have worked closely with our clients, RLDA and stakeholders. We've had a number of Teams meetings on weekly basis to discuss our findings and what the aspirations of RLDA are. We had workshops here in Delhi. We had virtual workshops and presentations of the options report and a draft design handbook, which we shared with 250 Indian zonal railway leads. We had meetings with RLDA, VC, and the Minister of Railways, who is very, very visionary. And I believe that, with that kind of aspiration and leaders in this country, we are going to be moving forward. We also visited Rani Kamlapati railway station in Bhopal, one of the stations that took 4.5 years to construct, so that we could better understand the practical challenges faced while constructing alongside operational railways in India. Well, my presentation hopefully gives you a flavor of the innovative ideas we have that will help transform India's aged railway stations and enhance passenger experience in years to come. Our work certainly complements other innovation and digitalization projects that are part of the development of India's key transport hubs and smart cities projects. Together, using smart and efficient design, we strive to bring India railway stations to world-class standards. So what are the next stages? RLDA have built 2 stations. It took quite long to do. They are now going to, they have invited tenders for Chandigarh railway station, which is going to be tendered on our design principles, on the draft design handbook. They're also looking at putting out a tender for Gurgaon railway station, which will be coming out shortly. But the story doesn't end here. We have 125 stations, and out of a stock of 8,000. Eventually, all these stations will have to be brought up to certain standards. Now, the way to really kind of gain maximum benefits out of this is to have big players who in the construction industry who are given a mandate of 10 stations to redevelop, and then they come up and come up with innovative ideas and enhance what we have done and actually add value to it, so that when, for example, the launching systems of the roof, for example, it will need bespoke systems to do this. And if we can actually spread the cost of this over 10 stations or 20 stations, we will see real benefits coming into our industry. And I've seen the metro systems and the way we are thinking here, and we talk about environment and all that. We really believe that, I certainly believe that we can do it. We can do it. We can build this less than 12 months, provided we can deal with the foundations on narrow platforms and such like. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time, and I hope we'll be happy to answer any questions. Quazi, my colleague, is here, and we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, and I would request Mr. Kulvinder to kindly stay back as he's part of the next Fireside Chat. So ladies and gentlemen, but before that, let's put our hands together once again for the wonderful presentation we had from him. And of course, if you have any questions, you can ask him during the Fireside Chat that we are going to have next. So ladies and gentlemen, our next Fireside Chat is on the rail tail, innovations and digitalization transforming Indian railways. And may I invite our distinguished moderator for this session, Mr. Rajiv Nehru, in-market lead, Asiapac, RICS. A warm welcome to you, sir, once again. Inviting eminent speaker, Mr. Lokesh Singh, General Manager, Center for Railway Information Systems, CRIS, who has over 27 years of experience and is a high-impact technocrat come administrator to bring innovation, excellence, and problem-solving by using a combination of intuition and logic to come up with their solutions. And of course, we have with us, you all know him, Mr. Kulvinder Rayat, who has 36 years of extensive experience in the design and supervision of major infrastructure works. And may I invite Mr. Quazi, Director Arup, to kindly join us. He is a qualified architect with over 29 years of experience and has a deep interest in its design of transport, buildings, and urban real infrastructure. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together to welcome our eminent panel as I hand over to Mr. Nehru to carry forward the proceedings of this session. And sir, you have 25 minutes.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited because we are spoiled. I as an Indian, am spoiled on the airports because we love our airports, new airports we have, sir. Very lovely airports. We like to travel. But the moment we use trains, we get a little apprehensive because the stations are not great now. And all that, we are already spoiled because we have very good infrastructure in India, new infrastructure, new metros. We go to New York, you find train stations, 70-year-old. Not talk about London, which is almost 110-year-old now, London Metro, 1908. So we are spoiled for choice. We like new things, shining things. So it's very exciting that you are at a great time in India where you are proposing modernization of stations. But I am keen on some certain things which are linked to culture. You are very Indian, so our culture. What is the culture of an Indian while catching a train? My culture. I'll not talk for Indians. My culture would be that I'm carrying too much of luggage because I know airline will not give me more than 15 kilos. Or if they do that, they'll charge heavily. Okay? So I will travel in a train when I want to take luggage, especially when I'm coming from my in-laws' place. A lot of gifts with them in my bag. So I'll use the train first. So I want the walking time to be as less as possible. The walking time. Second is in-laws would be in Bhopal or Gwalior or places which are 45 degrees plus normal any time of the year. So I need some sort of an air conditioning approach where I could feel comfortable while entering a station. That's the second requirement I would have. The third requirement I have is that we had a film called DDLJ, Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge. In that film, that heroine wants to run or hero wants to run, who wants to run and catch the partner while boarding a train. So we like to board a train while running, just joking, I don't take it seriously. So I mean to say that the access to the rail station has to be smooth enough, including for handicapped passengers, including for children and women, the type of clothing we wear saris, and So I'm trying to put your focus on something very different. The different is integrating technology, modularity, construction processes, to a scheme of things where we, human beings, with a certain set of behaviors, certain set of value systems, certain set of the way we use our transportation, where we live, how we work. It will be very different from UK. I remember in UK, on one platform, you have 3 trains. In India, you can't do that except in Kharagpur, Like, if I go from Wales to Nottingham, I have to take 3 trains, but the trains are in the same platform, one after the other. Here you can't see that because the trains are very long, especially except Kharagpur station. So there it's very different. Now there you don't need air conditioning because it's all the time cool in the UK. Here we need air conditioning. And access and baggage movement is a problem here. I saw in UK I think it was in Piccadilly Circus only, you have trolleys on the train station where you can carry luggage. I wish I could have that in each station in India. So from that perspective, I want to push and urge you to think, when now you are doing the designs of the stations, to think about these things, to make it, ultimately you are doing it to make it a comfortable ride for every one of us. I remember in Istanbul airport, 20 years back, life was a railway station, the airport. There were so many flights and, and India is the same volume, 23 million passengers every day. So it's moving a country every day in India on trains. 7,200 stations, 115,000 kilometers of rail track. Some is meter gauge, some is broad gauge. You leave that mess, that's a different thing. That's a separate thing we'll handle. And almost, as you said, 8,000 stations. So this is a big volume, and this is going to change in time. So your thoughts, both of you, it's a big question, sorry, or a big context. So your thoughts on how to make it an Indian usable entity, not something which has come from a foreign land and we are supposed and, we have to use it, not like that. So over to you, sir. Sorry for a longish context.
No, I think it's a lot to kind of talk about. And well, first of all, I just want to say that, railways are a very sustainable way of traveling. When we are comparing building highways and then we're looking at railways, and when we're evaluating the sustainability aspect of it, we are promoting railways in a big way. India is very fortunate that it's got a lot of kilometers of railway, and it's been a long-established way of commuting. But we have a very aged infrastructure. And the key thing is to actually bring it to a high standard. And the railway station is a hub where everybody kind of starts the journey. The question of luggage, the question of people kind of just, I'm going to use this loosely, hanging on the platforms, congestion and all that. From my point of view, the key thought and what RLDA and Indian Railways want to do is they want to create a concourse where they take all the passengers up to that level. They want to create a kind of an ambience where it's like when, airports 25, 30 years ago were just catching a flight, but now it's a real experience of going out there and it's a retail therapy. They want to convert this kind of thing here as well. You're talking about temperature, right? Now, when we were looking at the temperature, we looked at it in a really kind of big way. We challenged it. We understand that the temperatures go up to 41 degrees, and if you have glazed and closed areas, then that's even trapping more heat in it. So the whole idea is to actually create a kind of thorough roof, long roof, and make it an open experience and let natural ventilation take place. Yeah, when you're talking about temperatures, and if you get 5 degrees differential temperature from outside inside, you feel cool about it.
Right.
So really, I think these are some of the points I'm making, and I think
Kim, any points you have
over to you.
Kim,
No,
your
thank
point.
you, thank you. I mean, I think that's a very, very good question. I think one of the really important things about what we were very, very conscious of was that we were not designing a UK station in India, because then that would have failed. That was really, really important to us. What we wanted to do was design something that felt very generous and open, that felt really simple to use. I think, for us, India Railways, is India. It's hugely important. A lot of the intelligence and the design was thinking about flows, making sure that flow down to platform was intuitive, how you came through the station was really clear, simple, easy to use. I think one of the fascinating things about Arup is that we work across the world in lots and lots of different places, but what we always try and do is make our designs contextual and that they relate to the places that we design, otherwise it will fail. I think it was an extraordinary moment in our collective careers to try and do something as ambitious as this. And I think the important thing, central to our thinking was that this is a systems approach. And Kulvinder and I are completely inspired by the conversations earlier about metros. I mean, there's lots of stuff that we can learn. And I hope that, in the end, that when these stations are rolled out, they create an ongoing sort of dialogue about design and a new kind of ambitious kind of, it puts India Railways on the map, and people are referring back to India Railways rather than Chinese Railways or UK Railways. So I think that's a huge part of our ambition.
Right. Although interesting analogy here is, the moment we land to a station, we feel hungry. It's a very natural habit. The moment you go to a station, and in India, every railway station, if you see, most of them are linked to some food. Like Ratlam station could be some maybe samosa, or Agra could be some sweetmeat. I'm trying to give a story, and now the design analogy. The analogy of design is that what is the creation of a retail space within a railway station which will cater to the needs of the passengers who are coming in? Is it thought about in the design, and how it is integrated as part of the design?
I think that's a very good question. I mean, part of what we're trying to do is come up with a system. So, as these designs develop, there will be another layering of design. So this is really about, in simple terms, a kit of parts, that are very standardized. So you're building the main components of the station across 125, and then each of those stations will be localized to its particular context, its particular city. So, and that will add another layer. So this is not, the idea is not that we build every station looking exactly the same. What we create is a guidebook that then gets refined, added to, developed. It's a living document. I think that's very important. So the answer about food, which is a really difficult one, I think what we want to do is we want people to wait in the concourse, so we want to have food there. And we will, but I think specifically what type of food we have at the moment on what concourse is very difficult for me to answer.
No, I'll tell you, traditionally as engineering students, when we grew up, the only place we thought that food will be available 24/7 was railway station. So you always landed to a railway station to have food. That in that context, because there are people, trains are moving, so many trains are, almost 12,600 trains are there, moving 24/7. So food, water becomes a very critical resource to have it on the station. Kulvinder, you had some point?
Sure. That's, if I just kind of take one step back, the two stations that have been constructed already, Rani Kapla station and Gandhinagar. These two projects were actually rolled out on PPP, principal procurement. And when you give it to a private industry, the private industry wants to optimize its revenue. And they will look at ways of looking what the demand is. And food, retail space, as we have done, we've created the spaces that we have put concept on. Retail is at the center of it. Yeah, and the way the retails have been set up and the sitting areas are and where the lifts are, it is to make sure that all these areas are approachable. So that culture that we have, having paturas and samosas, that culture we cannot take away from India. This is not Europe. This is India, and we should maintain that throughout, because it's a development. Because this is our culture. This is what we do, and we don't want to deviate from that.
Right. Yeah, going on culture, I think this the more I believe the design is close to culture, it's more successful. That entity or that utility is more successful. It's close to your culture and things your habits. We also have one more habit, that we want to see the train come. You understand, and that creates an issue of safety and security. Because if you want to see the train come and you start weeping, and you're on the platform, there are these issues. So is there any addressing that sense? One, I had a conceptual understanding, maybe China, some stations we have seen. In Finland, I had seen a station where they won't even open the entrance gate of the platform till the train arrives. And the moment train arrives, docks, and then you open the main door and then you enter the platform. That's one way of... Is there any access control you have thought about it, seeing a safety element in place where so many people on the stations... average, I feel, on a train station in Bhopal or Pune or in Delhi, at any given time when trains come, almost 200,000, 300,000 people in the railway station in Delhi. If you see the 16 platforms, average one platform would have 20,000 people. So almost 300,000 people, and it's a huge safety risk. So how have you thought about this element in design?
A lot of it is so the concourse sits above the tracks, and you have clear walls, so you can see trains coming in. What we're really the way that the idea is also to separate flows, so people who are coming and leaving by train wait at concourse. People who are arriving, they will take over these separate bridges. So we're trying to separate flows on the platform, so the platform becomes less congested. And then we're providing, a comfortable space at concourse level where you can see the trains, you can have a retail experience, you can get your samosas, which is cool. So it's cooler than the platform. So we get people to wait here. I think it's really important that Delhi station is a different type of station. Yeah. So this solution isn't going to be applied at Delhi. And that will have to have its own bespoke solution.
Okay, that's very well thought, actually. What about the access to the station? Because we have platform tickets. We have to buy a platform ticket, access the station. Then I can be a person who has come to greet somebody or meet somebody, or I can be a passenger. Is there a differentiation, access control between these three entities?
Generally. The way that these stations are designed is that they do have a sort of security line and a ticket line in the entry and exit block. So you will have to have a ticket in order to be on the concourse. But what we're also interested in is creating sort of generous public space on the outside, so that you actually have a kind of quality experience on the city side, as it were. So, a lot of time thinking about how drop-off and pick-up works, and it's arranged so that can be done in a way that isn't congested and it's quite ordered.
Yeah. Two more problems. Sorry, I'm coming with a flurry of questions. One is, what is the design of parking at these stations? Because parking will be an issue, especially at large stations. So are you using MLC? Are you thinking about multi-level car parks? That's one. What is the element of parking management at these stations?
I think that will end up being done locally per station. I mean, what we were really focused on was everything that was over platforms and the main machine, to get that as standardized. So really what this guidebook is about establishing a series of standard designs that can then be adapted to each location. So certain things weren't part of our brief and will get developed as part of the development of each of the individual stations.
No, I'm sorry asking for too much on design, so probably, but
That's,
the best.
that's a very good question because, you know, as we talk about integrated transport systems, we talk about metros, we need to think about connectivities. We need to think how we bring people to the station, how we try and minimize use of car. The whole world is thinking, you know, how is we going to transform not using our cars? We love our cars. I love my cars, right? But it's very difficult to get out of them. But when we have looked at, when we studied the 10 stations that RLDA asked us to look at, well, they are thinking about parking. They are looking at underground parking stations. They're looking at multi-story. So I think that's a kind of an evolving thing. But like Kim is saying, they will be individually looked at and see how best to kind of make use of them. You know, we have rickshaws, we have tuk-tuks and all that. These are all kind of convenient ways of bringing people, and all that is being considered and thought of.
That's fine. My favorite question and a problem. The problem is horizontal movement of baggage. Is there anything, any thought, any travelators, escalators, or anything which moves my baggage, trolley systems, anything you have in mind, anything is proposed to come in the stations, at least big stations?
In terms of individual baggage movements, I think that is what we've focused on is the moment, and this is really people movement and getting that working as well as we can.
That is the problem in the station because we have a lot of X-ray machines to check the baggage. The ingress takes a lot of time, the movement takes a lot of time, and finally the rush starts building in. That's probably that is one thing we would like to decongest. So probably some thoughts, if not, I know I'm asking for a lot and so much doesn't go in design. But as I told you in the beginning that we are spoiled for choice, we want everything to be now nicely made and well done and sort of in a way where it's comfortable for us. So, but great, you are putting a lot of thought to this whole system of station. Any other thing which you have done differently for these stations as which you have not done back home or somewhere else?
I think we are very, very conscious about the number of people. I think that we are very conscious of how important the stations are as social spaces. These are spaces for everyone, so I think that was very important to us. There are always questions about designing for something that has a 120-year design life. I think that's really important because you build the station and you will want to build it once. So I think we spent time thinking about how future demand could get accommodated. So these stations are designed so that they will anticipate demand. So 2050, 2060. So I think that's important. But if you ask me the question that what we would do differently, I think that's an interesting one that I don't have an
We can
answer to.
offline get on that discussion. Yeah, I'm aware. Thank you so very much. Great interaction, great insights. Quickly, 2-3 questions from the audience, if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, we can close the panel. Any quick questions, Mr. Narayan? And Mike.
Station designs, and I think you were talking about how you have to put on course. But do you think in India really that will work, given our climate, given our larger public behavior, which will take time to change? And I know that spaces will influence that thought process.
Yeah.
How do you see that playing out?
We certainly think that it will, looking at the various sort of climate kind of conditions, we think that it will work because, we are talking about, large covered spaces. We were really mindful about the way that heat comes in. I think, the scale of trying to air condition large spaces is not something that you will really want to propose. So what we were looking at is having certain areas that would be conditioned, but the main concourse is open and sheltered, and we think it will achieve a good temperature.
Because even UK is currently looking at 40 degrees and there's already problems all across. And so we've been dealing with that. We've built our stations and our vernacular architecture somehow addresses those problems better. But the glass and the steel has become a problem. And if you're trying to shift from that, then the new design has to be something that takes into account the local. Because if you travel anywhere in India, any of the out of the non-metros, you see the urban fabric and the congestion right outside you get off the station. So it's also the ecosystem around that station, which increase pedestrianization, other concepts, I'm sure.
I think this idea, we were inspired by traditional architecture. If you look at the forms of the vaults and the way that you're bringing light in, I think all of that is absolutely right. I think the problem with designers is designers always start with put too much glass. And if you reduce the amount of glass and you provide natural ventilation, then you can achieve a comfortable climate. You can't get it down to 17 degrees if it's 45 degrees outside, but you can get it to something that is comfortable.
Yeah, Kim and Kulvinder, thank you very much for this. It's a tough job designing this, and as we had discussion, tough job, and you're doing a great job. Thank you very much. Paucity of time. Really thankful for you to come down here.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. I would request our moderator, Mr. Nehru, to do the honors of presenting a token of gratitude and appreciation to both our eminent panelists. We present to Mr. Kulvinder. Thank you, sir, for being a part of the panel and for that wonderful presentation we had from you. And to Mr. Quazi. Thank you, Mr. Nehru. And can we have a group photograph? And ladies and gentlemen, on that note, may I invite Mr. Tanveer Padole, Head Digital ASAP Info Global Group, to kindly propose the vote of thanks.
Once again, I'll keep this short. We've had a long day. Thank you to all of you, all of our speakers, our wonderful, wonderful speakers, for coming out here, expressing their views, teaching us what's new. Thank you all. Next, I'd like to thank our digitalization partner, Bentley Systems, associate partner, LiveSit, exhibit partner, Infernia Technologies, and associations, BIM Association of India and the Drone Federation of India. I would also like to give you a little update. We have a multi-city tour that focuses on the architecture and building community called Design Build, CW Design Build Conclave and Awards, where we're moving to Pune, Kolkata, Lucknow, Indore, Nagpur, Jaipur, and many other cities. We've already covered a bunch of maybe 6 to 7 cities across India, and we're hoping to bring out regional talent in each one of these places. Apart from that, we have our Smart Cities event called Smart Urbanation on the 26th of August in Mumbai, along with the Construction World Architect and Builder Awards. We also have our India Construction Festival, our flagship event of the year, where we have an India Road Conference as well as the Equipment India Awards, followed by the very closely coveted Construction World Annual Awards, where we recognize India's fastest growing construction companies for the 20th year this year. That's going to be hosted on October 14th in Mumbai as well. Last but not least, we have our Cement Expo, which will be held in February of 2023 in New Delhi. So between Mumbai and Delhi, we're going to have a huge lineup of events in the year. The purpose is to engage, connect with our customers, understand what they need, and make sure that we can share the information with all relevant bodies in this industry. I would like to thank you all once again for your patience. Hope you have a great day, a great weekend ahead. Good evening. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for kindly proposing the vote of thanks. I'm sure it is being seconded by each one of you present here. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we close the proceedings of the Construction Technology Summit 2022. Looking forward to seeing all of you in our upcoming events, which Mr. Tanveer just announced. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, thanking all our eminent panelists, speakers, and above all, thanking all our participants for your participation in making this event a huge success. Thank you. Please join us for a cup of tea before you leave the venue. Have a safe journey home. Good evening and namaskar.